Emmanuel Rossner from Deutsche Bank. Hey, Emmanuel, can
you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you so much for taking my question. Maybe a first question for Elon on your pricing strategy. So if I understand your message, you're saying, Tesla feels it's worth maximizing the volume, increasing the size of the fleet as fast as you can, because you'll be able to monetize this over the life cycle of the vehicle. Can you be a little bit more specific around ways you would be able to monetize sort of like this existing fleet in the future? Obviously, I think autonomous seems to be a big piece of it. By my understanding was that robotaxi would probably be for the next generation vehicle, not the existing one. So I guess in which ways would you monetize it?
Sorry, the robotaxi terminology can be a bit confusing because that's sort of like a generic term for our next generation vehicle. And we obviously are working on a next generation vehicle. It's going to be very compelling. This is just not the time to talk about it in detail as a product. So we internally call it robotaxi, but really all of the vehicles that have hardware 3, which is the vast majority of our fleet, we believe will achieve full autonomy. So they will be like a Model 3 or Model Y would be a robotaxi, a robotic taxi. So yeah, that's to the best of my knowledge that we believe the current hardware can achieve full autonomy.
Understood. And then maybe a question for Zach, back on the automotive gross margin. So I guess a few months ago, even after major price cuts, you felt pretty strongly that 20% automotive gross margin was still probably a reasonable floor. Obviously, the macro has gone worse, and additional price cuts have happened. Is there anything else that has changed in terms of the outlook? Is it just the macro deteriorating? Is it the competitive landscape? Anything else that sort of like makes you think differently around the full year? And is there a way, therefore, to frame a floor?
Yeah, about half of the miss against that previous conversation last quarter is attributed to adjustments we made in pricing in the second half of the quarter. I guess you could argue that lowers the floor in a sense. We've also made pricing adjustments so far this quarter, so that brings it down further. About the other half of the miss in Q1 was attributed to things that are non-recurring. So I mentioned these in my opening remarks. It's a warranty adjustment for cars that were previously produced but not part of the pedigree of cars we're building now, and some autopilot-related deferrals as we make some technology changes here that those deferrals should get recognized once some of the software catches up. So those two things are non-repeating. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
Yeah, there's really two macro factors that are tricky. The biggest being the interest rate. So if there's a very high Fed rate or interest rates are very high, that is every time that the Fed raises interest rates, that's equivalent to increasing the price of a car. It makes the cars less affordable because people are able to buy cars as a function of what they can afford on a monthly basis. So it's just almost directly equivalent to a price increase is any kind of interest rate increase. Then the other factor is whenever there's uncertainty in the economy, people will generally postpone big new capital purchases like a new car. This is a natural human reaction. So if people are reading about layoffs and whatnot in the press, they're like, well, they might be worried about they might be laid off, so then they'll be naturally a little more hesitant than they would otherwise be to buy a new car. Now this is just the nature of the auto industry. But there will be a tremendous amount of pent up demand for new cars. So, but it goes through cycles.
Thank you. Let's go to Ben Kalo from Baird. Ben, go ahead and unmute.
Hey guys, Elon, when you talk about many fish to fry, you talked about Dojo being a product that you can sell outside of Tesla. How do we rank all the things you have going on, and then in the economic environment? I mean, like heat pumps and everything else you have going on versus investing in the vehicle business, or is that not the right way to look at it?
I'm not sure I fully understand your question, but I'd look at Dojo as like kind of a long shot bet. But if it's a long shot bet that pays off, it'll pay off in a very, very big way. Like potentially, potentially in a very, very big way. Like, in the multi-$100 billion level. But the thing with still put it in the long shot category, but long shot with a multi-$100 billion, potential outcome. And so it's a bet worth making, but not one you can sort of say like, oh, take it to the bank type of thing. Although these days, take it to the bank, it's maybe not as secure as it used to be. And obviously we're big believers in heat pumps, and that is on our list that, over time is to do a really good heat pump for homes and, commercial offices and stuff. And we have the technology; it's really good. But it's a back burner item. Our focus is very much on vehicles, autonomy, stationary storage, basically